Hi everyone, I'm Dr. Rupam Khanna. At 180, our aim is to gain new perspectives from world-class professional experts that combine science, statistics, and most importantly, humane values, so that we can then apply these tools in our own lives. No one has mastered or studied relationships in more details than Dr. John Gray.
Hi everyone, I'm Nikki Rishi, and we're honored, delighted, and thrilled to have today Dr. John Gray. John is the author of the most well-known and trusted relationship book of all time, Men Are From Mars and Women Are From Venus. And that book ended up selling somewhere in the lines of 50 million copies. USA Today listed his book as one of the top 10 most influential books of the last quarter century. His Mars-Venus book series has forever changed the way men and women view their relationships. Dr. Gray is one of the authorities in the dynamics of male and female relationships and has written a whole series of books, over 20, on dating, relationships, marriage, and intimacy for 4 decades now.
Prior to that, John was a monk for about 9 years. He studied with Maharishi Mahesh Yogi. Side note, my dad was his dentist. and he brings in and he brings in the perfect harmony of science and spirituality in everything he does. He is the ideal keynote for these times of lockdown, as statistically, divorces are going up during these times, and people are struggling with relationships and connection. Welcome, and thank you so much for your ever-evolving work.
Rupam, thank you so much. Yes, happy to be with you.
Thank you. Being a professional multitasking entrepreneur myself, what really stuck with me is when you say equality in relationships is a beautiful thing. But the problem is people have equated equality with sameness.
On the heels of that, let's start with our first question. In your book, Beyond Mars and Venus, you explain why being a man or woman in today's society is more nuanced and complex than ever. Social and economic shifts have caused the sexes to no longer be dependent on each other. The truth is, even though our roles have shifted, there are still fundamental differences between men and women. For our audience, first and foremost, who might not be familiar with the book entirely, could you please outline key takeaways from it?
From Men Are From Mars or from the new book, Beyond Mars and Venus?
It would be great to do both.
All right, I'll start with Men Are From Mars. And this was written 25 years ago, and when relationships were more traditional, where men were generally the primary providers and women were the primary homemakers. But our culture for thousands of years actually supported well-being for women if they're going to be primary homemakers and if men are going to be providers. Actually, culture helped us to, when it worked, it worked. It didn't always work, particularly when men couldn't make enough money to support their family. When men can't make enough money to support their family, they often become alcoholics. They can be aggressive. They're just not motivated. And that's a tragedy when our old system didn't work. So what I did in more traditional relationships is explained something that on one level everybody knew in the old days. Men and women are different. But we didn't know how men and women can come together with greater intimacy, with better communication, with more love and passion, romantic passion. That was growing in the 60s and 70s, 80s, 90s. More and more women were saying, we want better communication. We want more romance. We want more harmony in the home, because women's needs were beginning to change. Now we can see how clearly women's needs have changed, which I primarily focus on in Beyond Mars and Venus, because since I wrote Men Are From Mars, this big change in relationships has become even bigger. And what is that change? Women are now more independent. And that's a good thing. We should all have greater freedom in our life. All man or woman, we want freedom to be all of who we are. And as women have, in a sense, expanded their consciousness to embrace, I could be like a man and I could be like a woman. Now, even when I wrote Men Are From Mars, some women would say, I feel like I'm from Mars and my husband's from Venus. And we might call that role reversal. But some of the primary takeaways of Men Are From Mars, let's focus on that, how more traditional couples could come together. Men go to their caves. This is something that is unique to men more so than women, which is if a man has a stressful day, he needs time to just forget all responsibilities. Now, in my new book, I talk about that in hormonal terms, which is we now know that when a man can take time to forget his problems, in a sense, be in his cave, he rebuilds his testosterone. Now, testosterone in men, we have to make, as a man, I have to make at least 10 times more than a woman in order to experience well being. Women need to make 10 times more estrogen in order to experience well being. When I wrote Men Are From Mars, I didn't understand hormones. I just knew that women's biggest complaint with men is they don't listen. So I wrote a book explaining to men, this is why women are not so happy with you, is you think you're good listeners, but you're not. If a woman is to raise her estrogen and experience intimacy, well-being, happiness, connection, which produces female hormones like estrogen and progesterone, she needs to share and not be interrupted with solutions. So men want to fix it. They want to solve the problem. It's like a fire. I got to put it out, as opposed to relax, ask more questions. So one of the practical takeaways in Men Are From Mars is realizing listen more and don't fix everything right away unless she's asking for it. So you might say things like, well, help me understand that better. What else? Tell me more. Or say something loving rather than give a solution. Say something like, you give so much to so many people. Let me give you a hug. See, these are supportive statements that actually make women feel seen and heard and loved. And a man can love his wife, but he just doesn't know how to show it. He might say something, don't worry about it, honey. I'll fix it. That's demeaning to her. Or he might say something like, don't worry about it. It's not a big deal. That's demeaning. Men have a tendency, in order to cope with stress in their own body, they tend to minimize problems, to forget it. Don't worry about it till tomorrow. Women, on the other hand, when they're feeling stressed, they tend to amplify and express more. So if we want to find balance in a relationship, men, you need to amplify your caring and interest when a woman talks. And women, rather than complain to men about what men are not doing right, minimize it and say things like, that's not a big deal, but I'd really like it if you try to remember to do this and this. If you minimize, men will tend to amplify. So this is an example of our gender differences. And a lot of people would think, oh, that's just conditioning. Actually, that's biology. Well, now we understand this major difference in men. When women are stressed, they have an increase in blood flow to the emotional part of the brain. Men have a decrease. But if the problem is big, then men have an increase. And so when women express emotions about daily experiences, men misinterpret women to think she's making a big deal out of it, when really she's just sharing her feelings, because talking about feelings, talking about what she thinks, expressing her wishes and wants, revealing her inner world to a man actually lowers her stress levels. And men don't understand that, because for men, they go to their cave to lower their stress levels. So this understanding not only helps us to support ourselves better, but to correctly interpret our problems, our partners, I meant to say. When a man goes to his cave, women often think, oh, he doesn't love me. Well, no, it's not about her at all. But she thinks it's about her because often women will go to their cave when they're mad at their partner. And vice versa. Women will often talk about their feelings, and men don't realize she's doing this to experience closeness, not to have you solve her problems. So these are some of the basic insights of Men Are From Mars. And I threw in a little bit of the ideas of hormone balance in the new book, Beyond Mars and Venus. So those are some highlights.
Very nice.
Really good. Yeah, I think I remember I read somewhere it says intimacy, like intimacy.
Yes,
So,
yes. And again, the difference between men and women. For a woman, intimacy is intimacy, penetrate, go inside of me. But for man, intimacy is actually, look what I can do. You don't have to
The
work for it,
doers.
but it's out of me. See, see what I've done. You see, that's what opens a man's heart, is when he feels he can be successful in providing something. When I drive my car, I have a nice car. I feel like, see, I'm a well-to-do man. What I can do. See, men, if they're in the army, they want to show all of their little buttons, that say I've done this and I've done this. If a man's a chef, he has his chef's hat. Showing our accomplishments in our dress is very important to men, whereas women show their beauty, their femininity, their smile. They accentuate it with lipstick. The rouge, on the lip cheeks accentuates their feeling of happiness. Look who I am, see me. But more importantly, hear me and validate what I feel. See the sensitivities inside of me, honor me, respect me. This is all women experiencing something which is vital, more vital to women than men. Why? Because see me, hear me, touch me in a loving way all stimulate estrogen. And women need 10 times more estrogen than men to cope with stress. And women need 20 times more estrogen than men to fall in love. And men need 20 times more testosterone than a woman generally has in order to fall in love. So learning to pack up our hormones, not all the time, but learning ways to increase hormonal balance within ourselves can keep the love alive for a lifetime.
Oh, men will be hunters. So, in the modern world, when so many women are in the position of leadership, how do we thrive? Decision making, like you say, increases our testosterone. So, can you elaborate on the natural ways we can increase our empathy and embrace our feminine side? And for men, how do they balance out their roles at home?
Well, let's start with the women. And for women, it's very challenging for women today. So we see a marked increase in divorce, women not wanting to get married because they're not able to sustain a feeling of fulfillment with a man. There's a lot of confusion about, why can't I have a man love me? Depression rates are up, anxiety rates are up. In some countries, like in Brazil, 95% of the women all take medicine to fall asleep at night. Really, the stress levels are astronomical when we look at women. Research has been published that when women work outside the home, when they come home, their stress levels from the workplace double. And whether she's single or in a relationship, some people jokingly say, well, it doubles when she gets home because she has a husband. But actually, it doubles whether you have a husband or not. But what's going on is, when you're in the work world, the work world is not against women. It's just designed for men, and it's designed for producing testosterone. Estrogen is produced when you are in a situation which is supportive to you. I want to share myself, how I feel. I want to ask for help. I want to get it. But the work world is all about giving help. Giving help is actually testosterone producing, particularly when you're giving help to get paid money. So you're not doing it because you love to do it and enjoy doing it. You're doing it because you need to produce a result, and that's a good thing, to be of service, so that then you can use the money and come home and do what you enjoy doing. Is to start dating right away. Not sexual dating, that's too quick for most women, but to start getting, when a child falls off a horse, you want to put the kid back on right away. Otherwise, they create a fear, and they live in that state of fear, and it's hard to get back on the horse. So a wise parent will put the child, okay, I know you fell off. I know it's scary. Let's put you right back on. No, I don't want to do it. I don't know what. I'm right here with you. I'm going to put you back on, so they can not go into a fear state. Well, one of the things for women, besides being single, pushes them too far to their male side, and they don't have to get married. They just need to start going on dates where they're with men, if they're heterosexual, and to create a series of positive dating experiences. Not marriage. You're not looking for your soulmate. You just want to practice your skills, so you're seeing that I can still relate to somebody in a successful way. Let me explain why that's so important. When men get a divorce, they often feel like, well, I just picked the wrong woman. But women, they go into a place of, I can't trust. They can't trust because when they fall in love, they feel they're very romantic and they feel this is the one. This is the one. And then when you get a divorce, you can't trust men, but really at a deeper level, you can't trust yourself because you feel like I thought he was the one and he's not the one. Therefore, I don't know if I can trust myself. And once again, that creates fear. And the independence creates the hormonal imbalance. So these are like really important things for us to understand. So what do you do after a divorce or if you're single? Don't try to find a soulmate. Don't try to find a perfect person. Instead, create a series of positive dating experiences where you get to practice new relationship skills. One of the challenges for women, without a doubt, is that women work harder on relationship than men. Men, more traditional men, will work harder on making money because that's in his mind how to make the relationship better. So, but when it comes to actually personal dynamics of giving in a relationship, I see women giving so much and then they feel so unhappy. And what they say is, I gave so much. I gave and I gave and I gave and I didn't get back. And unfortunately, these women have no idea of how they unknowingly sabotage getting more in a relationship. So men are actually, when they hear my talks, are more open to trying something new because they haven't really tried much at all. But women, they often feel like, oh, somebody's going to tell me what more I have to do because she's been giving so much. But what she doesn't know is how men and women are different. And men, if you give them what a woman wants, it actually lowers a man's testosterone. If you give him what a man needs, then it will raise his testosterone. So that's where knowledge comes in. We have to learn how to practice new relationship skills for our modern world.
So, Dr. Gray, I actually, that those are amazing insights. I do not want us to get away from this piece about dating you were mentioning before. So, if I take us back to that part, I'm very curious to see or hear. We see a new dating trend every few decades, from organic matchmaking to modern online dating. So, what is the next trend? What does the future of online dating hold? If we can talk about that a little bit more.
Well, there's a great opportunity today in that couples actually can't get together physically. There's too much focus on getting together with a guy, if you're a woman, and having to dread getting undressed again or having to have sex when you're not ready. You see, for a man, our biology is such to speed up the process. A woman's biology is such to slow down the process. And there has to be both voices in harmony. And today there's a huge pressure on women to speed up the process because men expect it. And men, there's a pressure on men to speed up the process even more because we hear or we think other men are getting sex right away. I'm a failure if I don't. So what's wrong with you? And so are you a prude? See, there's a great wisdom in going slow when it comes to sex, sexual relationships. Women are designed differently. Now think about the evolution of women. The evolution of women is you're going to get pregnant if you have sex. They don't have birth control for thousands of years, right? So you have to be careful who you let in to produce a baby. Men don't have to be careful. They're not stuck with a baby for 9 months. There's even hormones designed in a man. If a man has sex with a woman and she feels he is the one, first of all, she doesn't have sex unless she already feels he's good material. She tests him. See, a lot of testing goes on. And the testing goes on, can I speak my mind and he still desires me? Can I ask for more and he still desires me? Can I be unhappy if he does wrong things and he still desires me? Then If you go through that level of mental checklist, emotional checklist, he's happy to do things for me that he doesn't even want to do, but he'll do it because he wants to please me. When he goes through all of those and you set those boundaries up and he still wants to have sex with you and be with you, then usually your body will say, it's time for me to have sex with this guy because he passed all the tests. These tests are actually hormonal. This is not conscious. These are hormonal tests inside where you get to experience safety while you're being your authentic self. But today, there's so much pressure on speed up to the sex that women feel like, well, I should do it. I'll do it because he wants to do it, not knowing that you don't have to have sex with a man right away to satisfy his ego. What you need to do, this is very tricky, is when he starts to make moves for more sex or wanting to have sex all the way kind of stuff, you say, oh, I'd love to have sex with you. I'm so turned on to you. I can't wait for that to happen. I just need more time. His ego will be satisfied, but you will also, you can reject him in a sense without rejecting him. You have to slow down the process. Now, the new dating, which is happening now online, is magnificent if you have dating skills. This means learning how to create connection, not depending on sex. So this means two basic things. The first thing, which is most important, you can't touch over the internet. You can see each other. You can talk to each other. What you can do as a woman is practice some of my dating skills. For example, don't let him talk more than you. See, women often ask a lot of questions because they know they would like him to ask questions of you. So, to start a conversation, women are great at asking questions. They interview us. And if you keep asking him questions, he'll just talk about himself and never bond with you. What you want to do is you can ask questions to start a conversation going a little bit. Then you want to interrupt and talk more. And then ask a question and interrupt and talk more. Not what your mother taught you. Now, when you do talk, you want to, because you're dating somebody you don't want to marry, okay, you want to free your brain of the people pleaser mentality. Women are conditioned to be people pleasers. You're conditioned to put yourself to the side and be there for other people, right? This is what a good woman does. You're there for others. You're selfless. Actually, that's what a good man is. It's selfless and being there for you. But you train him to be there for himself by being selfless and by being what some people might call a people pleaser. If you came to my house as a guest, you'd go, oh, what a beautiful home you have. And you'd enjoy it. And I'd show, oh, there's a painting and this is a statue. And we did this wall coloring. I could do a whole tour of my house. I used to do it 25 years ago. I put a lot of work into making a beautiful place with my wife. Well, now if you came to my house and you wanted to buy it, your brain would operate differently. You would go into an automatic bias of what's wrong with this house. Is it really worth it? What are the water bills? Is there cracks in the foundation? Is the electric bill? How do you take care of this place? What does under the house look like? Do you have mold? We're going to do some tests here. How about the air conditioning vent? I mean, you actually, when you buy a house today, you pay people to come in and check it all out for you to see what's wrong with it. That's what your brain turns into when you go on a date with somebody that you're feeling could be good potential to get married. So stop looking for a soulmate and start using these new communication skills where as a woman, you're going to practice using a man to come back to your female side, using a man to produce estrogen in your body, not giving to him at all. If you use a man successfully, he's going to have a great date as well. Because what fuels men is to feel appreciated. So if you're actually using him like a tool, you have to get beyond the idea that you need to give so much to men. Stop it. Instead, use him and he will feel like loved. And you're going to dinner with him. He should pay. You should never pay for a man. It's like, men, their well-being dramatically increases if he provides something for a woman that makes her happier. See, this is like a gift to him that you're allowing him to do things for you, and you're not doing anything for him except responding authentically and in a positive way.
Well, I was almost thinking these issues of unfulfillment and people pleasing and this pursuit of happiness mindset, of the many stories that we hear today. I was wondering what's to blame, whether it's technology or how we were raised as a generation. What I actually hear after hearing you talk is that it's biology, and here is this toolkit that you should take in order to generate different skills that turn you away from being your authentic self that biology has produced as a woman to be a people pleaser and actually be something different in order to be successful in the dating world. Is that what I'm hearing?
Well, I agree with what you're hearing from me, but I also agree with what you're already thinking. Technology has a big role in all of this, and our culture has a big role in all of this. Keep in mind, the culture is developed by intelligent people. Okay, we got to where we are not by a bunch of stupid people. Religions, although for many people are outdated, for other people they're not. This is not stupid people. There's wisdom. But today it's changed. The world has changed dramatically in a positive way and in a negative way. In a positive way, as women, you have the freedom to be independent. You have the freedom to express what we might call traditional male qualities, purposefulness outside the home, changing the world, running a company, feeling completely self-sufficient and independent. Wow, that's amazing. Men, on the other hand, have the opportunity to spend more time with their children. They have more opportunity to do things like go to the gym and work out. They have an opportunity to be more romantic, to love their partner, to experience a new level of intimacy, which men want, by the way. Women don't realize how men have dramatically changed. Let me just, a little insight on that. Traditionally, for thousands of years, while men clearly would give their lives up for their family, okay, we are the ones who go into the fire. We are the ones who go into the battle. We are the ones that dig the ditches. We are the ones that die in construction projects, not women. And we're happy to do it if it makes you happy. So let's keep that in mind. That's what masculinity is. At the same time, those men that would die for women did not care in sex if you had an orgasm, because they didn't care. They weren't romantic. They weren't all about being touchy-feely and listening to your feelings and whatever. It's like having a bulldog, okay, but you don't mind if he doesn't have good manners as long as he protects you. So your judgments of men were very, very different. But the world's different today, very, very different. And just one thing that I'm also a sex therapist. And one of the amazing things, I started teaching classes on sex 35 years ago after being a monk for 9 years. Kind of funny. But if you're actually a celibate monk for 9 years, when you're no longer a celibate monk, you really appreciate sex a lot.
Touche.
and I realized I had a lot of learning to do to make up for lost time. And I interviewed a lot of women before I had sex with them. And I thought, what man knows this stuff? And most men don't understand women when it comes to intimacy and then sex. So that's when I started teaching these classes where people would get together and talk about what makes sex great. And here's the point I'm building up to. What makes sex great for all men today that took my workshops, they would describe their best sexual experience was her orgasm. Her orgasm. Go back 50 years, that wouldn't be what a man says. He didn't even know women could have orgasms. So what I'm saying here is, although men can't always put that into practice, when they feel happiest, it's because she experienced maximum fulfillment. And that bottom line explains in a very dramatic way, a man's greatest happiness is when you're happy. You have to understand, this is what men are made out of. And therefore, you have a tremendous power as women to bring out the best in men. But it's only through your love and your appreciation and your happiness that you bring out the best in men. And when you're trying to please him by doing things for him, you're becoming like a man instead of like a woman. Receptivity, allowing him to do things for you, learning how to ask for help, learning how to be vulnerable, learning how to reveal deeper layers of who you are. And you can train a man to do that. I'm talking to two beautiful women right now, and who most women don't know their power to change men. Men do not have so much power to change women. We can create safety for women, but women today do need this knowledge, because women don't understand what they need. They think what they need is to work to do a job, but what they need is learning how to reveal deeper levels of their feelings. For example, let's say you're angry, and I say, well, you're not really angry, you're afraid. You go, no, I'm angry. I said, no. Anybody who's ever angry is also afraid. And maybe somebody's feeling really sad and they're stuck feeling sad. You're never just feeling sad if you're stuck in it. You're feeling guilty. You feel like, oh, I was a fool. I expected this. I didn't get that. What's wrong with me? I don't know if I can trust myself again. There's always deeper levels of emotion. And women have a tremendous greater capacity to reflect inside and go into those emotions and share them. And in doing so, you're expressing more of your feminine energy. And if a man, you can train a man to listen. You know how you do it? You say, I'm going to talk and I don't want you to talk.
No
That's it.
solution there.
You don't have to, you see, we're designed to not talk, okay? Women are designed to talk more because sharing feelings produces estrogen. Sharing feelings to produce estrogen in a man's body is not a great thing. Men need more testosterone. Listening produces testosterone. He doesn't know that. You don't know that, but you just teach him. I just need to talk. I don't need you to say anything. And another thing you have to learn as a woman when you're in an intimate relationship and you're already further into the relationship, you say something, whatever, and a man gets angry at you, don't ask more questions. Say, excuse me, I don't want to talk with you. I need to take some time to open my heart. You don't have to blame him, but don't engage him. If ever a man is angry, walk out of the room. Just say, I'm not feeling comfortable right now. I'm sort of confused inside. Don't make him wrong, but don't engage. Usually women will engage because they assume that if you get him talking, he'll feel better, as if talking solved everything. No, people talk too much. Women don't talk too much, but sometimes women do because they get lost in their head and they don't connect with their emotions. Because when you talk, what you're looking for is to have somebody connect with you and feel what you feel. But the first step for a man to feel what you feel is for you to feel it. I have to say, I counsel 50 years, men and women. And one of the common things I hear from women is, how do I find emotionally available man? They're just not emotionally available. Well, they're not women. And the problem in every relationship, and I've counseled thousands of people over the years and taught seminars to millions of people, bringing women on stage. Okay, what's the challenge? She says, well, my husband's not emotionally available. Then I work with her for a little while. She's not emotionally available. Women are aware there's emotions inside, but you can't move through them. You're waiting for a man to suddenly be all emotional and vulnerable and tender and loving, and then you'll feel safe to open up. But if a man becomes all emotional and tender and needs this, you get turned off. That he becomes like a child. You can't be sexually attracted to that, and then you become disgusted with it, and then you feel guilty for being disgusted with it because you wouldn't want somebody to be disgusted with your feelings, but it is disgusting. It
So
just
not let
evokes
it
those feelings.
so not let it go to that extreme, and I guess respect is the biggest thing in that. Also, I feel like creating moments is what it's all about, where you're maximizing the good moments together, and that's what would really help you thrive as well.
Oh, beautifully said, Rupam. These moments. I just want to say biologically, I'm gonna take off on that a little bit differently than what you meant. But biologically, there's something that happens when a couple is physically intimate, they're mentally intimate, emotionally intimate. Then what happens is the intimacy through making love is literally a moment of making love. Making love. You generate more love when you make love. And many couples will never be able to make love because they don't have the communication skills where a woman feels I can fully undress mentally, undress emotionally, and then physically undress. Easy for men to get naked.
It's in the DNA.
It's not a problem for him, but it is a problem for women. And it's not a problem either. It requires skill.
It's the
It
comfort.
requires training for her to feel safe enough. You
Hmm.
see, safety, feeling safe elevates your estrogen. Your estrogen goes to double, 20 times higher than a man's estrogen, 20 times higher than him. You will create a moment which we call orgasm. When you have man and women having orgasms together, those are the moments that not only seal the deal in your relationship, but they actually seal the deal for your personal health and your well being. I can't tell you how many women are hormonally out of balance because they don't know how to have an orgasm. Now, we know statistically, I don't know personally, I read these statistics, okay, these big studies that are done on women. Half the women in America have never had an orgasm. The other half, which have had an orgasm, half of those have never had an orgasm next to a man, meaning they have a husband, but they can't have an orgasm. They have to do it alone with their vibrator. And just as men, unfortunately, now are addicted to porn, that diminishes their ability to be turned on to their wife. A woman, depending on a vibrator, diminishes her ability to surrender to a real man and have an orgasm. It's a different kind of an orgasm when you're surrendering your being. You're becoming merging with your partner. It's actually a feeling, this moment that actually transcends any other moment in your life is I'm yours and you're mine and we are one. That is the most beautiful moment. That is what's possible if we practice these skills and start learning how to go beyond people pleasing, how to become authentic, how to open our hearts. And now, on a practical level, those little moments I want to emphasize. We think of a moment as a birthday party, anniversary. That's good to have. Actually, what's more important, way more important than that, are the 20 moments every day. It's the 4 hugs I give my wife. It's noticing she got her hair cut. It's giving a compliment. I love your smile. And telling her every day in various ways why I love her. See, this is very important. Men think, if you say to your husband, do you love me? Well, of course I love you. Why don't you tell me you love me? Why should I tell you? I go to work. I do all these things. Why should I tell you? He should tell you because words connect. See, we're not monkeys. We're people. Words can connect us, and words are very important for women to hear those words. For men, it's very important, not so much to hear the words, but to feel your emotions of appreciation, of trusting, of openness, of delight. I'm happy to see you. I'm glad to see you. I love you so much. These are the things men experience by your smile, by your response to our behaviors. But women need words. They need actions and they need words. Words are worthless if there's no actions. But once you've done the actions, you need the words. We can communicate, and we are animals. Only one part of our brain, a little tiny part of our brain in the prefrontal cortex, has human DNA. The rest is animal DNA. This is all proven. We have millions of years of conditioning, of reactivity, which is primarily based on how does an animal react and communicate when they don't have language. And so what they do, if I step on your foot, you go, ow. And I step on it again, you go, ow, ow. And I step on it again, you now yell and scream. You see, this is communication of animals. And we use negativity to communicate. We have the ability of humans to use language without negativity. Now, this is a big challenge for women, but also for men, but a bit bigger for women because of the
So I
way their
guess,
brain is
sorry,
wired up.
so I guess emotional mastery is then what we all need to strive for in that.
It's to find ways to communicate without using negativity. One step is what we just talked about, is communicating my love for you. You're beautiful. I'm lucky to be with you. There's so many women in the world, but you're the only one I want to be with. You're such a good mother to our children. I know you care about me all the time. I can't imagine a person more loving than you. I'm just so lucky to be with you. You, you provide a sense of comfort for me. When I hug you in the morning, I just feel like I'm in heaven. I make love to you sometimes. It's just spectacular. I just feel so grateful that you're in my life. See, to be able to start feeling words for our emotions, we're just not very good at that yet as human beings, but we can practice. And I remember so many times my wife was so good at it. I was so impressed that she could tell me all the reasons I loved her. Sometimes she'd get a little mad. She'd say, "You're copying my answers." I said, "Honey, you just
She
give the
read your
best
book.
answer," because she's so good at it. So we have to practice this and train these men how to articulate love and to
Mhm.
know that also actions of love are very, very important. Little actions. Like I see what men don't know. They do all these wonderful things while dating, and then they stop when they marry you or when they're in a committed relationship. And the reason they stop is logical to stop if you don't understand a woman. I'm dating you, I'm going to do these little things and see if that makes you happy. And if little things can make you happy, then when I marry you and I got a job and I'm doing everything I can to support you, that's big stuff, right? Sharing your bank account. If I do big stuff, that should really make you happy. And I don't have to do all this little stuff. But it's actually the little stuff that raises estrogen, not the big stuff. Big stuff is
So,
important occasionally, but it's lots of little things. So I put it down to a science for men: 4 hugs a day, a few compliments every day. You play this game with her occasionally. In the bedroom, you always do lots of foreplay. You set up the bedroom. I won't say always. There's places for quickies or quick sex, whatever. You want to be flexible, but you have candle burning, you create the music. I'm like a DJ. I'd get the right tracks and I'd play them for making love. And she'd say, "Oh, you do such a good job." But more importantly, I did the caring for it. See, women want to see that there's an attentiveness.
mhm.
And why is that so important? Because basically, women are highly insecure. Okay, the tougher you are on the outside, the more insecure you are on the inside. Are men insecure? Yes, we're highly insecure, but you support us by reassuring us that we're successful. A smile, an appreciation, asking for help, needing our help. This is like really important to men. A lot of women walk around with all this confidence, "I don't need a man," and wonder why they don't have a man. Well, there's no payment, there's no job available for him. He needs to feel, "I have something I can contribute that's meaningful in your life." If he doesn't feel that you need him in some way that's meaningful to you, he has no energy and he has no interest. On the
Speaking
other
of,
hand,
sorry to
no,
interrupt,
always
but
interrupt.
speaking of insecurities, this pandemic has changed our lives, our work culture, and I think the way we will interact with each others. As I feel, a lot of us have felt like a mindset shift in this time. So, based on your expertise, do you think it'll change the behavior and relationships? And how will we heal from all this and bring harmony to our mind, body, and soul?
I think this whole pandemic gives us an opportunity to reset. And often we don't make a change in our lives until we realize our mistakes. And hopefully, some people will realize their mistakes, other people won't. Okay, so what's happening with marriages is divorce levels are dramatically increasing. We already see that. And the people are feeling when it's over and financially they can get a divorce, they want to get a divorce. So some people are just making do, but they're planning their escape. And the problem here is the recognition that we don't have the skills. And if we take the time to learn the skills, a better world will result. Meaning sometimes we have to fail before we're willing to change our ways. So that's one thing. Another thing is when it comes to the sickness which is happening. Many people disregard taking care of themselves to be healthy. And right now, it's a wake up call. If you're obese, you're going to die. If you have diabetes, you're going to die. If you have high blood pressure, you're going to die. or at least your risk of all those things. And nobody's going to save you. That's a big motivator, because people need to start taking responsibility for their health. This COVID is not going away. They already talked about the vaccination. You're going to keep needing to take it, and other things are going to come. We already know with flu vaccinations that the virus mutates, and they're only so effective. Sometimes only 40% effective with the flu vaccine. That means 60% of the people get flus. So people are waking up now. We're living in a dangerous world in terms of the foods we eat, and the way we live our lifestyle. People have to learn to exercise, or they're going to die. You know what? Diabetes is. I have a friend, in 2 months, he cured his diabetes by changing his diet and taking some supplements that I recommended. People with high blood pressure, all you have to do is practice one of these many forms of meditation proven to lower blood pressure. You could also take beet extract. There's many natural things that will immediately lower your blood pressure without having to take drugs, and regular aerobic exercise, and your blood pressure will go down to normal, and you won't be at risk of dying of some new virus that comes around. The only people who die is the majority of people in our culture are sick, and we're walking around like we're not. So this is a wake-up call. Also, we're in marriages that don't work, and you get a divorce. Yeah, divorces are going to happen. And often after a divorce, people wake up and realize, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm doing everything I can do to increase an awareness how to be healthy, as well as how to have successful relationships. But that's the world. It will become a better world after the mess we make. And we're living in a mess
Yeah,
right now.
you absolutely nailed it. And that's where our passion for this 180 comes from. It's that desire to get more integrative medicine and really understand that whole mindset. But this was
Yeah,
beautiful.
we have the
Thank you for
power.
sharing.
Yeah,
Yes.
that was
Yeah.
beautiful. And before we say thank you, I'd like to share a story. So every morning I listen to something that puts my mindset in a peak state. So one morning a few months back, I was listening to your talk, and you said, when your heart is open and your authentic self comes forward, and from that place, when a desire is born, the universe aligns all forces to manifest it. So thank you for being that manifestation and being here today on our stage.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Gray, for your time and for being an ambassador to 180 Elevate. For those of you in our audience, John goes live on Facebook every Thursday from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. on facebook.com/mars.venus.john.gray. You can find more information about him on his website at marsvenus.com. Thank you very much, and we look forward to hearing from you again.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.